Dear students, this is Ms. Chen. Today, I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce a super powerful tool to you guys. I know that many of you would like to use your time, either during the break or during school year, to practice and refine your Chinese skills. So here's the tool. Let's go. To help you understand world language games better, I created this PowerPoint for you. So first of all, why do I say world language games is a super tool for you guys? The reason for that is because it has more than, I would say, 60 different games for you guys to play at home. And after you play the games, you will be able to take the tests, quizzes online to assess your own learning. And the good thing about this is because it is graded by computer, by the software, so you get instant feedback right away. Before we dive into world language games, I would like to invite you to add Simplified Chinese with Pinyin keyboard to your laptop or computer. And next thing is we need to have a good understanding of the format of this textbook. Okay, the textbook that we are using is called Integrated Chinese. Integrated Chinese is a series of textbooks. Volume 1 contains lesson 1 to lesson 10, and volume 2 contains lesson 11 to lesson 20. Each lesson has 2 little units, subunits. For example, for lesson 1, it has lesson 1 dialogue 1 and lesson 1 dialogue 2. Lesson 1 dialogue 1 also has its own vocabulary that goes with the dialogue. And lesson 1 dialogue 2 has its own vocabulary words that go with the dialogue by itself. This is a screenshot from the World Language Games website. So as you can see, if you select review, you will be able to see select unit. So before you play any games, you need to select a unit. So you can either practice the vocabulary in that unit or structures, which means the grammar from that unit, or sentences from that unit, or take online test from that unit. And now let's take a look at the first thing. Here is how I categorize and how I organize my lessons, because each lesson has a lot of vocabulary words, and I do not want to overwhelm my students. So I chunk down the vocabulary words in between 10 to 20, sometimes, like 10 to 18, I think 18 is the maximum. For students to practice at a time. And after they practice their vocabulary, they will be able to practice the structures, which means the grammar points. And then after they have a good understanding about the vocabulary and grammar, they will be able to practice with their sentences. Okay, so now let's take a look how I organize them in the next slide. So if you see like lesson, let's take lesson 1 as an example. Lesson 1 dialogue 1 has altogether 1 to 16, 17 to 30. So altogether lesson 1 dialogue 1 has 30 vocabulary words. So I chunk it into 2 parts. So students would practice 16 for the first time for the first set, and then 14 for the next set. It's easier to handle and it's not overwhelming. You can see these with the Chinese characters are all the smaller parts of the vocabulary. Yellow ones, you can see it's a bigger concept, like the medium concept of my unit. Okay, let's say lesson 3D1. So here, if you select L3D1, you'll be able to select vocabulary to play vocabulary games, or you can select structures to practice structure scramble, which is a grammar game. And then the blue part, if you select blue part is my biggest concept in this. Okay, so it is by lessons. So if you select lesson 1 right here, that means you will be able to practice all of the lesson 1 dialogue 1 and all of the lesson 1 dialogue 2 vocabulary. If you select vocabulary, you'll be able to play the games. And if you select the blue one, lesson 1, you will be able to practice all of the structures from lesson 1, from lesson 1 dialogue 2 and lesson 1 dialogue 1. After you select lesson 1 from the unit, then you'll be able to select structures and practice all of the structure games right there. And also, lesson 1 contains all of the lesson 1 sentences, but not to overwhelm my students, I only create about between 8 to 11 sentences for each lesson. So if you select lesson 1 from the unit and you go to sentences, you will be able to play some of the games to practice sentences. Okay, hope this is clear to you. And in our next slide, I will be explaining how the procedure should be. So you will have a smooth transition when you go from one game to another. Here is a sample procedure that I would suggest you to follow. Let's say you're studying lesson 1. The first thing I want you to do is to study lesson 1, dialogue 1, the first set of vocabulary, and then the second set of vocabulary. After that, you'll be able to practice lesson 1, dialogue 1 grammar through structure scramble. And I'll show you where the game is. There are many games right there, but I would suggest you to practice with this game. And after you practice with structures, you'll be able to read lesson 1, dialogue 1 dialogue from the textbook in the ELibrary. Where to find it, I'll show you in our next video. Then you will be taking lesson 1, dialogue 1 reading test. It's a comprehension test in story comprehension. Same thing, I'll show you in our next part of the video. To finish up lesson 1, dialogue 1, you are going to listen to lesson 1, dialogue 1, the textbook dialogue and stories from workbook in MP3 listening. And I'll show you where to find it in the next part of the video. Once you finish lesson 1, dialogue 1, then you go to lesson 1, dialogue 2. So you follow the same pattern. So first of all, vocabulary, after vocabulary, grammar, structure scramble, and then you read stories in ELibrary, then you test your reading skill in story comprehension. And the last thing is to listen to the MP3 listening to consolidate your knowledge in the vocabulary and sentences. Then the next step, as you can see, these are all tests. You may review all of the vocabulary from here to here, then you will be able to take a vocabulary test in Review Online Test 1. So where to find it? Let's see if I can go back to this slide. Okay, so here you select your unit. And then, for example, lesson 1, if you want to take a lesson 1 vocabulary test, you select lesson 1, then you select OLT. Then you'll be able to find the OLT, review OLT 1 to take the test. To take lesson 1 grammar test, of course, I want you to review again, review with lesson 1 dialogue 1 grammar through structure scramble and lesson 1 dialogue 2 grammar through structure scramble. Then you go to the grammar test by selecting review OLT 2. Let's go back to our last slide. So here, if you want to do the structures scramble, Then you go to lesson 1, select lesson 1 unit. Then you go to structures and you practice. After you practice, you can go to online test, select review online test 2. Then you will be able to assess your own skills. Anything below 80%, that means you need some more practice. The next part will be step 5. So after you do all of these, we make sure that you understand the reading, you understand the vocabulary and grammar. The last part, the most challenging part, is how to make sentences, how to create sentences, how to translate sentences. So step 5, practice lesson 1, sentences through sentence typing. Where can you find it? Right here. If you select lesson 1 under units, then you go to sentences right here. And the game that I would like you to practice is called sentence typing. And after you type several times, you will be able to take review online test 5 to test your skill. And if you can get 80% or above, that means you're good. If you do all these for one lesson, that means you would have a good and solid foundation. So you can move on to the next lesson, lesson 2. And I do not recommend you guys to skip lessons, because integrated Chinese has a very good sequence. So if you know all of the lesson 1 vocabulary, you'll be able to read lesson 2. But if you have some gaps in lesson 1, the reading in lesson 2 will be a little bit challenging for you. This slide shows you clearly, if you want to play vocabulary games, you can either select ones with Chinese characters, which is smaller chunks, or you can select different dialogues, or you can select the entire lesson. And to play structured games, you can select dialogues or just a complete lesson. For stories, it is also divided by dialogues and lesson. To listen to MP3, to practice your listening skill, same thing. It is divided by dialogues and lesson. To practice sentences, you only can select lesson, because each lesson would have only 8 to 11 sentences for you to practice. Now I'm going to follow this slide to show you how to find the games to play. First of all, if you go to World Language Games website, you need to select your name first, and then go to review, and then you select the unit, and then you go to vocabulary. Look, there are so many games right here. If you want to see a list of vocabulary from this little unit, you can click on view all. The game that I recommend is called spelling game. Let's take a look at the spelling game. Oh, you can see. First of all, X, the numbers of X's means the numbers of characters that you need to put in here. Instead of characters, you can also put the pinyin, and the PPP means the numbers of letters that you need for each character. And plus, you need to put tone marks in there. Okay, so for example, greeting, to greet. If you don't know the answer, you can hover your cursor to the clue. And then, oh, it is called 问好, 问好. So now you remember that, process in your brain, and then you can start typing in Chinese. Greetings is 问好. You ask if people are good. So it is number 1, 问好. You can check to see if you're correct. Now, here's only one X. So that means that vocabulary has only one character. And that character has 4 letters. Okay, so one surname is to be surnamed, last name is. Okay, all right, so that is Xing. I think I'm right, number 4. If I move my cursor to the clue, yay, 姓 is the character that I need, right? Okay, check it. You're correct. And my name is, now, if I want to practice my pronunciation, my pinyin with tones, you can see that altogether 6 letters. So, 我, it's the third tone. So you're going to put third tone. 我姓, fourth tone. So check to see if I'm right. So if you move your cursor right here, it is 我姓, 我姓, check. Yay, you're correct. So you can use this tool to practice either your Chinese or your pinyin with tones. If you only type in pinyin without tones, it will say that you're wrong. Okay, so please make sure that you put the tone marks in there. The next thing I'm going to show you is lesson 1, dialogue 1. Okay, all right, so select unit. Let's go back to select unit. Okay, so here I'm going to unclick it. I want to practice lesson 1, dialogue 1 right here. And I will go to structures right here. And then the game that I recommend you guys to play is called Structure Scramble. So let's click on this one, Structure Scramble. Same thing, it has clues because it's for you to practice. Okay, so if you don't know how to say my last name is, you can go to here. Go here and then it will show you the correct answer. 我姓李, my last name is Li. So you click on the characters in order. 我姓李. You can click on this question mark to see if you're correct. Yay, you're correct. Okay, and then the second one is, what's your last name? Oh, you have to use all of the characters, including this question mark. Okay, so what's your last name? Clue. 你姓什么? 你姓什么? Remember, the Chinese word order is subject, time, place, verb, object. Okay, so 你 is you, which is subject. 姓 is last name is, which is a verb. 什么 is object. 你姓什么? Subject, verb, object. So here, 你姓什么? Remember, to do this correctly, all you have to remember is the word order in Chinese. It is always subject, time, place, verb, object. Okay, click on this question mark. Yay, you're correct. So you finish this and do it a few times until you can get everything right without looking at the clue. After you study the vocabulary for lesson 1, dialogue 1, and the grammar points in lesson 1, dialogue 1, I'm sure that you will be able to handle lesson 1, dialogue and stories in ELibrary. Now I'm going to show you where to find ELibrary. Let's go to World Language Games website again. Okay, now here, ELibrary is right here on the green folder. It says ELibrary. So you just have to click on ELibrary. It will take you to the link. Okay, and since we're going to read lesson 1, dialogue 1, you just, of course, it pops up right here because it's our first story. But for later units, you can select a unit. Remember, it is either lesson 1, dialogue 1 or lesson 1, dialogue 2, or the lesson, right? If you select lesson 1, dialogue 1, go to the story. Under it, there's only one. And the reason there's only one is because this is the very first lesson, the easiest one. But if you go to lesson 1, dialogue 2, you'll see, wow, there are 3. And if you go to lesson 3, dialogue 2, you'll be seeing, wow, there are 4 stories right here for you to read. And please make sure that you read all of the stories under the units, so you would have a better understanding on the reading. We are going to read lesson 1, dialogue 1. And when you read, probably you forgot some of the vocabulary words, or there are some words that you don't know because I didn't put it into the vocabulary for you to study. When you read, if you encounter any words that you don't know how to say, the first thing you can do is go to this asterisk mark, click on it, boom. And to take it away, click it again. All right. And the real reading happens only when you don't look at pinyin. So when you read, please do not use the pinyin to read. I need you to take the pinyin away. This pinyin right here is just a crutch for you. When you read, you see certain words that you don't know. For example, 对话, 对话, these two characters definitely are not in your vocabulary. So you can highlight it. And there are 2 online dictionaries embedded right here. You can go to MDBG. 对话 means what? Dialogue. Let's say if you want to work on your pronunciation, world language games, when it comes to pinyin and pronunciation, it uses Google Translate to help. When you see these pinyin, I would say 90% of the pinyin you see will be correct, because there are some Chinese characters that have different pronunciation or different tones, which, Google Translate is not smart enough to distinguish that. And when you want to read something, you want to hear how to pronounce the words, you can highlight it. You can highlight words, single words, or a phrase, or a sentence, or even the entire dialogue. Look, you highlight it, and then you select the icon, listening icon here. Then you will be able to listen to how it's pronounced.
第一课对话一
listen one more time.
第一课对话一
So this way you can practice your listening and you can practice your pronunciation. All right. And please don't forget, there can be many stories for you to read. Some of them are from textbook, some of them are from workbook. So make sure you read them before you move on to the next activity. After you read the stories and dialogue from the ELibrary, I would like to ask you to take Lesson 1, Dialogue 1 reading test in story comprehension. Here, let's go back to World Language Games again. Where is reading comprehension? Here's ELibrary. That's not where you take test. Here is reading comprehension, story comprehension. Let's click on this orange folder. When we come to this page, you will see a drop-down menu. And like I said, Lesson 1, Dialogue 1 has only one story, one dialogue for you to read. But as you can see on this screen, for Lesson 1, Dialogue 2, you will see 1, 2, 3 stories before you hit Lesson 2, Dialogue 1. So for Lesson 1, Dialogue 2, story comprehension, you'll need to do 1, 2, 3, all these 3 reading comprehension. And then for Lesson 2, D1, if you're working on Lesson 2, D1, then you'll need to select these 2 stories, L2, D1 and L2, Story 1. For Lesson 2, Dialogue 2, then how many stories do you have to read? Yes, 3. 1, 2, 3 before you hit the next unit. Right. Okay. So now let's take a look at Lesson 1, Dialogue 1. And here is the reading you have already read. And right here, you're going to see a few true or false questions. Based on the reading, you are going to decide the statement is true or false. 王鹏叫李友李先生. So if you think it's false, you click on false. And number 2, 女孩姓李. The girl's last name is Li. Yeah, true. 李友叫王鹏, 王小姐. Li You called Wang Peng. Wang Peng is the guy. 王小姐, Miss Wang. Of course, it's wrong, right? Okay, so let's say if we finished all of these, and the bottom part, you're going to fill in the blanks. Same thing, it's a drop-down menu, so it's not that difficult. If you are stuck, you can always go back to the text on top. It's the same reading selection. Okay, so 第一课对话一问好，王鹏你好 Leo 你好，请问 May I please ask blah 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 blah. Let's say you finish and then you click on this, submit for grading. It will give you instant feedback. It will tell you, oh, you got 42.1% correct. And these are the questions that I got wrong. And the reason that I did them wrong is because I didn't answer them. Okay, all right. But I was lucky. I got only 1 true or false questions wrong. Yay. The bottom line for this is I want you to keep practicing until you get 90%. And if you are stuck, you don't know what to do, then you can always go back to ELibrary, where there's dictionary, there are tools for you to read and understand. So the bottom line for story comprehension is 90%. Don't forget, for reading story comprehension, you are to read and answer questions for all of the stories and dialogue for that unit. This part of the video will show you after you know the vocabulary, after you know the grammar, and you read with understanding, then you can move on to our last step for the dialogue. To listen to lesson 1, dialogue 1, dialogue and stories in MP3 listening, let's go back to World Language Games website. And here, the purple folder is where you can find MP3 listening. It has the same concept. So you can choose lesson 1, dialogue 1 for the unit. And then there are 3 MP3 listening for you to listen to. So let's take a look at the first one. This is the same text that you read. It is just, with audio, and you're going to listen to the audio and select what is missing in the blanks. Okay, so let's listen to it.
对话一
Dialogue 1.
你好，
你好，
请问您贵姓？
我
Okay, so you can pause and you can move forward, or you can just, move the bars to listen to the part that you want. And the beginning, because this is the title, is a little bit tricky. You don't hear it in the MP3. So you're going to figure out by yourself. This is lesson 1, dialogue 1. So 第一课 dialogue 1, 对话一. And what is this about? It is about 问好, greeting. So this is the part that you have to use your knowledge to figure out, or you can use the word bank to put in to see what makes sense. Each phrase can be used only once. And so Wang Peng said, let's listen one more time.
一
Dialogue 1.
So the first one is a guy.
你好，
Oh, he says 你好.
你好，
And then Leo says 你好.
请问
The guy
您
says
贵姓？
请问.
我姓
Okay,
李
stop. Okay, 请问您贵姓? So this is how you do it. Okay. And then at the end, you just do submit for grading. It will tell you your score for this part. Your goal is to get 90% or above. If you need more practice, same thing. You can go back to ELibrary. After you finish one listening comprehension and earned 90% or above, I would like you to come back here and make sure, for example, lesson 1, D2, it has, wow, more listening MP3 stuff for you guys. So you will need to make sure that you do one by one. And don't think that this is a lot. Some of the listening clips are only like 10-second long or 20-second long. They don't take too much time. So please make sure you finish all of them. after you finish step 1 and step 2, so dialogue 1 and dialogue 2, you will be able to complete task number 3. So task number 3 is for you to take a unit vocabulary test in Review Online Test 1. Now, please allow me to show you how to do it. To do a quick review, here's what you can do. You can just select vocabulary info. And because you are taking vocabulary test on lesson 1, so you can just select lesson 1 right here. And then boom, all of the vocabulary words from lesson 1 will show up here. Here's listening icon. If you click on it,
问好
it would say the words for you. You can test yourself to see, just cover maybe the Chinese and pinyin part to see when you see English, if you can say Chinese, you can reveal the answers. So you can do a quick review this way, or there's another quick review that you can do. You can go to review, select lesson 1, and you go to vocabulary. And right here, you will be able to find study cards. Right here, study cards. This is a super good tool that I love so much that I feel like I have to introduce it to you. Okay, so now you can see total vocabulary words is 67, like we just saw. Lesson 1 vocabulary, there are 67 of them. And you can just use this tool to classify. Do you have a deep understanding of this vocabulary word or not? If you click on it, you think, oh, I don't know how to pronounce it, or I don't know what it means. If you just click on this card,
问好
it will tell you the meaning and the pinyin, and it will say it to you. So
问好
you can click back and you think, okay, all right. At first, I didn't know the meaning, so I'm going to put it in difficult pile. And then this one, oh, I know. It's ni. To verify if I'm correct or not, I can just click on the word.
你
Oh, ni. Hey, I'm right. Ni means you. I'm confident. And as you can see, the numbers are changing. The numbers, difficult pile has 3, and then confident pile has 4. So now I'm going to keep going. Next one. 你好. Oh, that is so easy for me. 你好,
你好
confident. So if I keep pressing the
您
next one, 您, okay, I think it's difficult. You see the numbers are changing? If you want to study, you can say, oh, I want to go to difficult pile to study. So these are the ones that I categorize as difficult. So now I'm going to study one more
问好
time.
问好
Now I can switch from English to Chinese to see if I know how to say it. Greeting to greet, how to say it? 问好.
问好
Yay.
问好
Okay, so same thing. I can study this way and I put them into different piles. This study card is so powerful. You can use it to play games. So you can go to earn points. Which game? Spelling game, typing. Which data? You are going to practice the ones that you think are difficult. So you study your difficult pile and then you can play. Same thing like spelling game, but this time you are really targeting on the words that you don't know that well. Let's review. The first way to study is to go to vocabulary info from here and select lesson 1. Do a quick review by just, look through the words. And then the second one, I'm going to show you this fast way. Study card is right here. You click on it, and then you will be able to select lesson 1 unit. And then you can categorize that. After you study, you can go to World Language Games page again. Let me show you. You go to review. And of course, we need to make sure that we select lesson 1, all of the vocabulary words from lesson 1. Then we select the bottom part right here, OLT. OLT 1 is testing you your ability in vocabulary. Start this test. You can either type in pinyin or Chinese characters. So USA is 美国. Okay. France is 法国. There are 48 questions for you to answer. After you are done, you hit submit for grading and it will tell you your score. Your goal for this one is, I would say, for all of the unit tests, I want to see at least an 80%, but you can shoot for higher scores if you set higher standard for yourself. Okay, so this is OLT1, the review online test for vocabulary words. After you complete the tasks from number 1, number 2, number 3, it is time for you to do the lesson 1 grammar test in review online test 2. And you can go here the old way to practice your structures in each dialogue. But now I'm going to show you another way to do a quick review. So here, you go to structure info. And if you select lesson 1, it will show you all of the structures that you need to know from lesson 1. Same thing, you look at the English, you cover the Chinese and pinyin. What is your last name? How do you say it? 你叫什么名字? Oh no, 你姓什么? I was wrong, so I need to study this one again. My last name is Li. 我姓李. Yay, I got it correct. You can test yourself this way. After you think that you're good, you can go to review, select unit. We're selecting lesson 1, and we are going to go to OLT and select review OLT 2. After you click start this test, you will see 15 questions. And it is the same thing as structure scramble, but because this time it is a test, so you don't see the clue. What you need to do is to put the characters in order. My last name is also Li. 我也姓李. And my last name is also not Wang. 我也不姓王. And let's say if I make one mistake on purpose, okay. 你李, and then after I finish, I click on submit for grading. It will show me my score. It's 16%. Yeah, I messed up with number 3. So you can see my answer is this. The correct answer should be this. You get instant feedback, so you can keep trying, or you can go back to review. After you select the unit, you may probably need to go back to structures and then practice all of the lesson 1 structures. This time, because this is a practice for structure scramble, you can see the clue. Make sure that your test scores on this one is at least 80% or above. All of the unit tests, your scores need to be above 80%. Now I'm going to show you how to use World English Games to practice the sentences in each lesson. So let's take lesson 1 as an example. Let's go to World English Games, and you go to review, and you are going to select the correct unit, which is lesson 1. After you select sentences, you'll be able to see the menu right here. And there's one game called typing that I highly recommend you guys to do. Let's click on typing. You're going to see the sentences. So here, I'm a student. Are you a student too? Here's 我是学生. Oh, do you see that? The number is changing. 你也是. Let's take a look. 70%. 学生. 90%. I'm a student. Are you a student too? Let me take a look at the clue. Just move the cursor to the clue. 我是学生，你也是学生啊。It's a yes or no question. I missed my. Take a look from 90 to 100. Without punctuation, you still can get 100%. Okay. Number 2. Hello, may I please ask what your honorable last name is? It's a formal way. So remember, formal way, you have to use 您. So here, hello, 您好. If you have difficult time to translate the sentence, you can hover your cursor to the clue and you will see, oh, 您好，请问您贵姓? May I please ask? 请问. See, the numbers are changing. 您, hey, 71. Okay. 贵姓. Yeah, 100%. The beauty of this game is take a look, if you get 90% or better, you actually can earn 3 points, 3 out of 3, which means 100%. So it is not that strict. As long as you get 90%, that means you will get 100%. This is the game for you to practice. It is called typing game. And I hope you find it very helpful. And now we are going to conclude our lesson study by taking the Review Online Test 4, which is the sentence translation. If you want to review all of the sentences, you can go to sentence typing in review. But there's another way. Let me show you. You go to World Language Games website. Here, do you see sentence info? The third one, sentence info. You just click on it and click on lesson 1. You will be able to see all of the sentences I created for you. So there are 9 sentences. Then you can study, you can test yourself, you can also listen to it.
您好，请问您贵姓？
After that, you can go to review right here. And same thing, first of all, you have to select your unit. Then you go to your OLT. And then you go to review OLT 5. Click on it. Once you click on start this test, you'll see 8 questions and you are going to translate from there. And same thing, it has this percentage to show you how well you do on each sentence. For example, my last name is Li. 我姓李. Hey, 43%. My name is Li Peng. 我叫李. 86. Peng. Okay, 100%. Keep doing it. There are 8 questions, and at the end, you can submit for grading. It will tell you right away what your score is. And if you didn't do well, remember, you have to get 80% or above on the unit test. If you didn't do well, you can go back to this sentence info to study, or you can practice in review, select the unit, and then go to sentences, then select typing to practice. Okay, I hope that you have fun studying. Thank you. Bye-bye.